It is fighting Galamsey. The IGP has taken that personnel, set up a task force to do the fight. We saw them in Bontenso 2 weeks or so ago, taking on the community, moving 2 excavators out of the township after they discovered that there was some wrongdoing happening. Tonight, the national organizer of the NDC, perhaps the person who tells the NDC folks what to do and what not to do and which they listen to, is inviting the president to abandon that particular enterprise. He says they are exploiting the people rather than helping them. Is that what you also read on the ground?
Thank you very much for this. And also, I need to say that, look, before I respond, I think it's important to also pay attention to the person who is bringing this message. In one breath, is saying that the police who are supposed to be enforcing the laws and trying to prevent people from engaging in legality are extorting money from miners on the ground. First, that's a point that is well noted. And I must say that from my own very experience, if you go to most of these mining areas, you see the police actively, some police actively on the ground, going from one mining site to the other. Sometimes their vehicles and motorbikes are even more dirty than the people themselves on the field. And you ask yourself, what are they doing if they're not enforcing the law? So for many of these places where you see the police going back and forth, the miners are still very active, and every day new people join. So it's the case that what Yamin is saying is true. But there's also the point where you also hear him say, because of that, let's abandon the fight against Galamsey. Which for me, we don't agree with him. He's not crying wolf, but that also does not mean that we should abandon the fight to really deal with the impunity that is going on. And for that, I think that it was a bit unprogressive in the manner in which he was insinuating that the government now acts that way. So to that extent, I would say, yes, he brought up a very key issue that we've been talking about for a long time. And the fact that he's very connected to the areas of power, he's saying it boldly as he did, is very, very important. And I think that it should be a call for some internal reflection by the IGP. And we do not agree that that should, in effect, lead to us handling the fight against them. We still need the teams on the ground, the boots on the ground, to ensure that people who are still stubborn, who are still being notorious, are still dealt.
But, hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you very
well. The worry
yes.
is that it will sound as if there are conflicting messages coming through from the government, and that would lead to some perhaps confusion or differences in messages, and people would then end up taking advantage of that. Now that a very high-ranking officer like the national organizer is saying ban or disband these task force, it will put some confusion in the ranks of those who are seeking to fight the menace, don't you think? Because his voice is a loud and weighty one, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, you are likely to have that kind of perception because, like I said, this guy is very connected to the government. He's not just anyone talking. He's a national organizer for the party in power. And what he's saying really carries a lot of weight. So we need to really be listening to him. And it is also good for the government to be divided on the front lines. I mean, people have already been asking, why is that so actively on the ground fighting Galamsey, when we know that not too long ago, the ministry and the government has also launched what you call NIMOS. And so you tend to see two very different operations happening. And I see that there's an opportunity for government to really consolidate their actions, bring the police out of NIMOS, and really serve as a tentacle eye of NIMOS that they can expect to work. So it is for me a call for government to put their house in order. We cannot win this fight if the front lines are divided among themselves and there's this kind of confusion. So for me, like I said, it is not a good message, a progressive message coming from him to say let's suspend activities on addressing or operations on illegal mining. That also does not mean that we shouldn't listen to the concerns that he has raised. That's a very important point raised over there. And if this government is very committed to this and dealing with it, it's going to address the current parallel activities of the task force as well as the NIMOS, which is also operating at the same time. So let's deal with it. Let's take it first person. Let's make sure that we go to the and deal with the issue that he's talking about. If the IGP still wants to continue, I think he needs to really sit down and reflect with the team internally and weed out the corruption that is so associated with the team that is on the ground, making communities really fight off the police anytime they go. It is not the same case with Nano. So I think that the government, one party, one government, they need to be talking to themselves, they need to harmonize their activities. Then we can really have a very successful campaign.
The president is the head of the nation. If he has to take a decision, who should he listen to? His organizer, who is at the grassroots and listens to everybody, or his inspector general of police, who is coordinating security? In deciding who should he listen to, how should the president be acting or reacting to this advice from his national organizer, his party's national organizer?
Well, I think we are not in an election mode. They are now in power, and then I think that it is time for them to govern the country, and that is why the government has really positioned an IGP in place to enhance access to intelligence and all of that on the ground. So, if anything at all, yes, you don't discount or you do not ignore what the party executives are saying, but you should also give heed to what the IGP said, because now you are in government and you have to act as a government. You are not just speaking to your people or your grassroots, you are speaking to, or working for the nation. So with the IGP working for the nation, I think the government needs to make sure that the IGP is also listening to the voices on the ground and not completely setting it aside, but listening to the voice on the ground and taking action appropriately. So the IGP has a lot of responsibility, and he bears the weight of responsibility in terms of ensuring that this police or the policemen and women they are deploying to the ground to do illegal mining activities are not engaging in other illegalities like corruption and bribery, which is really bringing the activities and a dispute. So I believe the president really needs to work with everybody, the rank and file of the government, and also with his party, to make sure that we are successful. Otherwise, if the party does not succeed, his government is not. If the government does not succeed, the party is also not going to succeed, I need to say.
Thank you so much for speaking to us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Sandra.
Daryl Busu, he is Deputy Director of Rocha, Ghana. This is Eyewitness.